All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. This is Jenny Leroy with Cutler Investment Group presenting Retirement Matters. Because retirement really does matter. It Some scary stats for you guys. The median retirement account balance is zero among all working age individuals. That is not a typo. It is actually zero because 57% of the working age individuals lack any retirement assets at all. That's 100 million Americans that have nothing saved for retirement. And even scarier, those that are saving, ages 55 to 65, have less than a year's salary saved for retirement. Now, retirement is supposed to be 20, 30 years out. Having less than a year of your annual salary saved doesn't seem like it'll get you that far. So this isn't meant to scare you, but it's just to emphasize that there is a bit of a retirement crisis and, something that we definitely need to address. Many employees are planning to make up for this savings shortfall in different ways. 47% of people are going to delay retirement. 40% of people who are near retirees are also delaying their retirement. And 61% of near retirees are going to have to work part-time in retirement to make up for that income shortfall. So again, starting to save early can help prevent this. So some anxiety-inducing retirement statistics, again, things that are really hindering the retirement savings. First thing, inflation. Inflation is a monster. In 1970, you only needed about 166,000 to enjoy your lifestyle. And now millennials will need close to $2 million of similar assets to enjoy that same lifestyle, just due to inflation. The fact that we don't have enough the median retirement savings is $60,000 per family for those that have savings. As I mentioned, for those nearing retirement have less than their annual salary saved. So just not having enough is definitely something people are going to need to address. Your nest egg will seem to shrink as $1 million nest egg today will be worth less than $530,000 when you retire. Again, this kind of goes back to inflation. Things continue to cost more. And then you may have to rethink sooner than you think. So retire sooner than you think. A lot of people may think that they're going to work until they die or that they'll work until they're 70, but actually 46% of workers were forced out or had to retire earlier than planned, whether that was health related or injury, family, whatever it was, they've had to actually retire earlier than they intended. So, if you're planning on working till 70 and saving accordingly to retire at 70 and you end up having to retire at 65, that 5 years can have a big impact on your retirement. So again, not meant to scare you, but to let you know about these facts, whether you're starting out at age 25, 35, or 45, you can retire well if you have the right strategy in place. And that's kind of what I want to present to you on what you need to do and why you should start saving today. So first off, Social Security should not be your only retirement plan. On average, Social Security payments make up approximately 33% of Americans' retirement income. So those, whether we are debating if Social Security is going to be around or not, that's not what I'm touching on, but I think you may have heard me say this in the past, but definitely it is not meant to support your income. It is a supplement to your income. So definitely you don't want to rely solely on Social Security. And then spending your money now can mean you'll pay for it later. So compounding can enhance the value of your savings. The pain of each dollar that you save now can be greater outweighed by the flexibility you gain later. So, do you eat your burger today or have 5 in the future kind of idea? Definitely it hurts not to have that compensation right now, but it has a bigger impact later down the road. And control what you can. Only you can completely control how much you save. If you start now, you might be surprised how little you notice that out of your paychecks. If you're putting away 3%, it really doesn't have that big of an impact on you today, but in the future, that 3% with the compounding effect grows to be a significant value down the road. So definitely benefits you. All right, so I've got this retirement saving checkpoint. So people often ask, am I saving enough for my age? Am I on track? How much should I have saved at this point in my career? So this checkpoint is a really neat tool. So if you look at your age and your salary and find that cross point, it gives you the factor of how much you should have saved. So for example, if you're 40 years old and have an income of $50,000, your factor is 1.7. Take your salary times 1.7, it equals $85,000. That is the amount you should have in your retirement savings today. Right? That gives you a good little calculation there on that amount that should be saved. So from there, it lets you know if you're ahead or behind, and kind of then it's a great conversation point to say, okay, do we need to start increasing our savings or decreasing our savings? And there are some assumptions built into here, but pretty straightforward to give you a base of where you should be today. Now, that being said, if you fall short of that, or if you have no savings at all, this chart here shows you the percentage that you would need to save to replace your income. So if we use that same example of a 40-year-old who has a household income of $50,000, they should be saving 16% every year until retirement. So when people say, what percentage should I defer? What's the right amount? Well, if you have $0 saved today, you need to be saving X percent. And these numbers I know can look scary because I think, people have it in their head that saving 3% is what we need to save, or saving 10%, I think was published a long time ago that the IRS put out, if you save 10% of your income, you'll have enough to retire. Well, that was based on a 21-year-old starting out their career, and unfortunately, not every 21-year-old starts saving for retirement. Maybe we don't start saving until we're 30 or 35. If you see here, delaying it each 5 years makes a huge impact on how much additionally you need to put away to make up for that. If we're looking at 40%, if you start when you're 25, it's 7% of your salary you should put away. If you wait till you're 35, it's now 12%. If you wait till you're 45, it's now 22%, which definitely makes a big impact, having to save 22% of your income versus 7% of your income. So again, this isn't meant to scare you, but it's just kind of a guideline, because that is one of the most common questions that I get asked when planning for retirement is, do I have enough saved? Am I at a good point with my savings today? And how much do I need to save? So these two tables kind of help illustrate that for you on what is the appropriate amount and what you need to do with that. So some tips to boost your retirement savings. I mean, everybody knows to save more, you need to put it away. But here's some 9 tips that I find pretty helpful. Obviously, it's a focus on starting today. When I meet with individuals, a lot of times I'll explain 401k and why it's important and what you need to do. And they'll say, I'll sign up for that in 6 months. What happens is, out of sight, out of mind, you forget to sign up. So definitely, if you're thinking about it today, if you haven't started deferring, start today, because if you wait, and as I emphasized on that chart earlier, the longer you wait, the more you actually have to save to meet your goals. Contribute to your 401k, definitely something that everybody should be doing. If your employer contributes to your 401k, great, but you should also be contributing because it's your retirement. So you want to make sure that you're putting money aside for your retirement. Make sure you're meeting your employer's match. They're putting in 6%, you want to put in 6%, or contribute more than the amount that they're putting into the plan. Definitely taking advantage of that. You're not limited to 6%, as I talked about earlier. If you're starting out at 45, making $50,000, you need to save, closer to 22%. So you have that flexibility, and you are able to contribute up to $19,000 a year. So sometimes when we present and we talk about 3% or 6%, people get it in their heads that all you can contribute is 6%. That's not the case. You can contribute up to $19,000 a year. And if you happen to be over 50, you can contribute an additional $6,000 as well. So definitely something that you want to make sure you're paying attention to. And that's to take advantage of those catch-up contributions. If you're maxing it out and you're over 50, make sure that you're aware that you can put extra money in because you're over 50. Definitely important thing to keep in mind. And then automate your retirement savings. I mean, for the 401k, it's deducted directly from your paycheck, and that's great. If you have an IRA in addition, set it up so those payments go directly into your IRA. Increasing your retirement savings as much as you can is definitely advisable. And pay attention to your spending. A lot of times when I work with individuals who say they can't afford it, if we sit down and do a budget, there's typically items that we can work into their daily expenses, make some adjustments, not pinch pennies, but just make some cognizant choices about how they're spending their money, and then can actually really afford to save for retirement. And if anybody needs help with financial planning or working on a budget, I am a certified financial planner, and I would be happy to work through that with you. If your goal is to save more for retirement and think you can't afford it, I can help you work on a budget to make it so that you can afford it. And set a goal. A lot of times, people are contributing an amount. Maybe they auto-enrolled at 3% and that's all that they've been doing. If you have a goal to increase it 1% every year until you hit 10%, set that goal and work on a timeline to achieve it. If it's something that you want on a certain date to increase it 1%, every quarter, if you work with me, I can automate that for you. I can help you do that and make sure you're meeting your goals. We are here as a resource to help you meet your retirement goals. And if that's something that you want to do, if you communicate that to us at Cutler, we will make sure that that gets done. I can call you and say, hey, it's that time that you wanted to increase your contributions 1%. Let's get it done. So definitely use us as a resource. And stash extra funds. I sometimes you're working a lot of overtime and your paychecks are much bigger than you expected, or you get a tax refund. A lot of times, extra money in the account, we think, oh, what fun things can we buy? But really stashing that extra money, if it's in your bank account, maybe deferring extra of your paycheck the following month to compensate for that, putting that extra away, because you do have that flexibility to increase and decrease your contributions on a monthly basis. So if you come into extra money, whether it's overtime or tax refund, think about putting that extra funds, or not all of it, but a portion of it, away to your retirement. And the earlier you put it into the account, the bigger impact it has. So definitely huge benefit there. And number 9 is a big one. Consider delaying Social Security as you get closer to retirement. A lot of times people are thinking about, how early can I draw on this? What can I do? If you start drawing on it early, it does impact your payment. So if you're in a financial position or a health position where you can continue working and you have that ability to delay your Social Security payment, it could have a big impact. That's kind of a big topic to touch on as one point. If individuals nearing retirement or kind of deciding if they should start Social Security at 65 or wait till they're 67 or delay it till they're 70 for the youngers, I would be happy to work through your individual situation and kind of what makes sense, because it does vary for everybody. But base rule is the longer you delay it, the more that you're going to get in your monthly payments. But again, I'm happy to work with you on an individual basis to work through those details. All right, so achieving your retirement goals. This chart, some of you may be familiar with because it's one of my favorite charts. I love this chart because it shows you, okay, if you were 30 years old and putting away 8%, if you were just putting away 8% to your bank account, you'd have that bottom yellow part. You'd have, about $250,000 saved for retirement. It's a nice chunk of change. It's more than the average Americans have saved for retirement. But then the red part is the company match, that 6% that they're putting in for retirement. So that is a nice chunk of change that you're getting in addition. But the most important part of this graph is the purple part. That is market growth, that compounding interest that we talked about. And the earlier you start, the bigger impact it has. You see, starting at 30, by the time you retire at 67, it's more than half of the account balance, and you have $1.5 million saved for retirement. Again, just starting early, making those contributions. Maybe you're older than 30 and need to save more than the 8%. Maybe you don't make $47,000. There's different adjustments that could be made. If anybody wants me to run their individual situation with these numbers, I'd be happy to do that. We can put in your salary, your age, your current balance, and see what that looks like. I run this for people all the time to help them, assure them that they are on track. Or, if you increased it 2%, look at what a difference this makes. And maybe instead of retiring at 70, you could retire at 68. Working through those numbers with individuals has a real big impact on their goal setting, and seeing that, maybe somebody wants to increase it to 10%, or really wants to retire at age 65. I can work through that and show you, okay, this is what you need to do to reach your goals to be able to retire at 65. And that's definitely something when people take advantage of them, it really helps them feel more comfortable about retirement and the track that they're on. Right now, you're just dumping money in, not thinking about it. The company's putting money in, and nobody really ever checks base like, am I actually going to be able to afford retirement? And so, having that conversation could really put you at ease. And as retirement gets closer and closer, it's definitely a conversation that we should be having. So a resource available to you. So I believe most people are on mute, but I wanted to open it up to see if anybody had any questions that I could address. Okay, well, on that note, my contact information is jenny@cutler.com. If anybody wants to email me, phone number's here. We are a resource available to you. I know it can be intimidating to ask questions in front of a big group, so definitely reach out if you have any follow-up questions or concerns. But this little education tool was kind of just to highlight how important it is to save for retirement and plan accordingly. I did get a question. Yeah.
I did have a comment. So I recently switched over my 401k or part of my 401k from the company where I came from. And, you were extremely thankful, very helpful, and I'm extremely thankful for that. Because it is kind of scary doing things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage everyone that is on the call. This is a great resource. Use it. Call her phone. Call her.
Thank you for
they're here to help.
Thank you for that, Tom. And for those people that do reach out, I'm sure you guys maybe have heard it before, but I typically get testaments like that from Tom. I mean, it's just really helpful to have that reassurance that you're on track or you're not on track and what you can do to correct that. I did get another